Okay, so on here we extract features, and on the features we do all this learning. Fine, and you can get very well the object detected. Now many objects, almost many objects can be detected, and these are all well-known methods. COCO again dataset where you have segmentation detection as well. Okay, within the same dataset, Pascal University also is used for both. And mean average precision is widely used. Okay, the average precision essentially is how much, say if I am able to detect whether with how much precision did I detect it, essentially. And then these are bunch of methods which are used for object detection, RCN and fast RCN. These are called two-stage detectors where I have mentioned. They first find whether object is there or not. Subsequently they say which object it is. Okay, the other methods are one-stage detectors where I directly say that okay, the object is there and which object it is. Okay, this is one-stage detectors, YOLO, V8 and so on, Retinonet and so on. There are very light versions of each of in each of the areas. Okay, where we want to put it in embedded platforms, especially for signal processing and communication background people. These are where the focus can be, where you can focus on identifying light models and putting them in embedded hardware, which we may be quite familiar or relatively familiar. And of course there are plenty of other networks so far doing this. So these can also be used for several purposes. Of course there is a video on automated attendance here, I will skip. Of course these methods can be done together as well. This is the parking lot in the previous campus, our old campus. So we want to detect and segment as well. So one of the methods input are maybe helpful for doing the other objective better. So here we have done rough detection. After detection, if you want to do performance, or if you do segmentation, we can do better. Instead of directly, detecting. If we directly detect, they may not be good. Okay, it's directly segment, the results are not good. If you detect first the regions of interest, within that you want to segment, separate, the results will be good. Something like that. So a combination of methods is also usually used, to do them better. In fact, there are plenty of networks I have discussed, right? So ensemble of these networks and giving the output as the say majority voting of these networks is also used. So such methods are also used, like fusion, like integrated methods are also widely in place. Also, this is another example where visual tracking, as I mentioned. Okay, we want to track an object of interest, car or person and so on. See, what we do is, if this is the object of interest and this is the whole image wherein we want to track, okay, we extract features like a convolution features, like convolution neural network here. We extract features for this X region. Instead of doing correlation or template match here, we do correlation in the on the features. That is only the difference. The main difference, those who are familiar in computer vision or image processing versus convolutional neural network or deep learning based methods is, instead of doing whole operations in pixel space or in shallow feature space, we do it in the convolutional features or the deep features. Okay, that is the main difference. So of course there will be some cost functions associated with each of them. Okay, and then these you have seen. Okay, we are tracking the different objects of interest. There are all the videos which probably you have seen now. Yeah, this is the object follower. We are trying to follow with a PTZ camera. There is a camera called pan, tilt and zoom camera, which can be moved around to follow or to based on our coding. So these are the methods widely used for tracking, visual tracking. Those who work in this area should be familiar with some of the benchmark methods and data sets and metrics. So of course, as I mentioned, plenty of data sets are available, methods are also available. And this other area where we work more, our group is pioneering in this. So 3D reconstruction from fringes. On an object we can project the fringes. Okay, and then once we project the fringes there, we record them, and the object height variations will be decoded in phase shifts of the fringes. Okay, so from the phase shift, how do we assess? Okay, so we developed a deep learning based method and it does really well. In fact, this is the that was the first method at that time. And of course, there are plenty of other things you can do with this. Okay, in different domains. These are some examples in healthcare. So there are videos. Okay, so probably I will try to pass on. Then how do we track the blood cells? We have already seen, right, blood cell tracking, and similarly tracking bacteria cells. And this is during COVID we developed a method on with very few chest X-rays which are available for COVID. whereas large number of X-rays available for pneumonia or for normal cases. How do we develop a method that works well for COVID cases? Okay, so it is not only for COVID. In general, in some of the problems, practical problems, you get the data, disease data or the data which is of interest will be very small, and general data which is without of interest probably which can be acquired, okay, for the other class will be much higher. This is called imbalanced data scenario. Okay, so this is also of high interest in this domain. So what people usually do is they develop cause functions or the loss functions which will focus more on the minority classes. Okay, so these are few other examples where we have, in collaboration with some Texas A&M, we have tracked the powder bubble in welding process. So this can be applied in different applications. Applying across domains in interdisciplinary areas is more welcome, where probably you can get a potential problems of interest. Okay, so this is another example, just applying the conventional method for crowd counting. So this is the 7K run, before 7K run. So he is our director, Professor Satyanarayana, K.N. Satyanarayana, and a few others. Krishna is I think probably known to some others. So here are the high density regions of the heads. Okay, we are detecting the heads. So this is another example wherein there was one workshop, AML workshop, and the students and then are the participants. Okay, the counts are almost accurate. Okay, with this again, so now these are the few other areas where people focus now, or recent trends, or sparse optimization. This is a conventional method. Of course, people have worked on it, and now there is not much focus because of deep learning. But still, this is the area where mathematically sound people would like to work on. Compressive sensing, graph neural networks is other area where people usually has good interest because all the data is not structured in the sense that you can't put everything in a grid. Okay, so generative adversarial networks, so GANs, which can synthesize the data. Okay, and then adversarial attacks and learning. Dr. Vishnu, I think from our computer science department, will be discussing on it. So usually these networks all will be prone to. Okay, so since anyway we are following a mathematical principle to minimize, if I do inverse principle, they will be in problem, or they will go to the misclassification regions. So how do we combat that? And then how do we, transformers nowadays are very well known in this area. Those who want to really get very good results, okay, somehow get a transformer, it is like an elephant, okay, and you need to train or at least make it apply, okay, and then get some good computational resources, you can get the good results. Okay, explainable AI in medical domain is very important. Incremental learning, continual learning, federated learning, these are distributed learning and so on, are very well known in computer science related people. Okay, applying machine learning. Of course, these are also useful for practical scenarios and online learning and so on. And diffusion models are now also famous in terms of generating data. Okay, integrating NLP and then the deep learning. So to get started in this domain, okay, so what I would suggest is this I have given a very brief overview and then overall picture. So you can, if you want to really get started in this field, I would suggest that you should get some mathematical basics. Okay, and Dudant Hart, classical book has good details in very compact representation or very small number of pages. You can go through some of the video lectures, whichever you like. There are plenty of video lectures by different instructors or different experts. And then data sets you should be familiar, as I mentioned. And get first implement some of the neural network, feed-forward neural network, and then convolution neural network on some data set, which is as I mentioned, disease classification data set, which is simple data set. Okay, and then subsequently you get some data set of your interest and start applying some of the GitHub codes or the existing codes, and see whether you are familiar to convert them or to apply them. So to have resources, Google Colab is one of the one which will give 1 GB or 2 GB of GPU memory. And if you need more, then Amazon Web Service, like Amazon Space provides virtual systems for rent and so on. And these are the well-known libraries: PyTorch, okay, Piano, TensorFlow, and so on for recording. I will be making these slides available, so you can see them. And then PyTorch, how to get started with PyTorch. Okay, some of our students has pulled some information where, okay, how they got into the area. So for the beginners, this would be a good help. And then TensorFlow also, some of them prefer TensorFlow over PyTorch and some prefer PyTorch. And computer vision, essentially these are the links to get some of the well-known methods. Okay, I have some segmentation and all I have mentioned, right? So you can get plenty of methods and their codes there. And some of the areas where you can focus, of course, so as I mentioned, cross-disciplinary. Also in terms of using cross-modal, instead of visual images, you can use other images, ultrasound in medical, and you can use in different applications. This is skill set I have mentioned already. And these are the publications. Those who are really keen on research, okay, can't just do with some data sets and then some applications of GitHub codes. You have to be familiar with the public current work. So at least you should know the some of the publications where they get published, and then you have to see them. And there are several research groups working on this. These are they have good resources as well. And as I mentioned, this is a data set. You have plenty of data sets, and then several other video lectures and so on here. Okay, good amount of references I have put. And thank you. If you have any questions, we can take a couple of hours.
With respect to hardware implementation, for identification applications, which perspective you should follow? ML approach, learning approach, or design approach?
Yeah. So essentially, if usually CNNs will give much higher accuracies than the ML. So if your problem is very simple, that means if you know in that domain the features which are of interest to you, specifically that these are the features which will give me better. If that clear domain knowledge is there, then you can go for an ML approach. If that is not there, better to bring a data to some form, 2-dimensional or whatever original dimensional form, 3-dimensional form, and then apply a lightweight convolutional neural network model. And in fact, custom design models are much better in such cases, in the sense that instead of applying directly some VCC or GoogleNet or something, you can design with 3 layers, 4 layers and so on, and then apply. Yeah, custom developed models and train on the data. Of course, you can train on bigger data set and then learn, fine tune with the your data set. But it's better to have a custom developed model with light Of course, in each of these areas, there are mobile net versions. Okay, so if you see nano model N, okay, and then yes, and so on, you can also use that and see how your model performs with respect to that. Another thing that is usually very required for anyone to, especially those who want to publish, is, see, developing some method and sending it will not get to anywhere. So what people usually look is, how does it compare with the state of the art, with the existing methods? So at least some awareness and then application of them is required. Any other doubts or questions? So essentially for segmentation, still you can use unit. So people use widely unit itself. So usually what is important there is different scale is more important. The objects will be of smaller scale, bigger scale and so on. So multi-resolution networks are widely used. HRNet for example. So like that there is a RefineNet, okay, which uses at multiple scales. Looks the either image at multiple scales or extract features at multiple scales. Such things are more like that. Any other questions or doubts? Thank you. So if you have any questions, you can write to me. My email is